Breathe Again, Healthy Air is Healthcare. And on behalf of our partner organizations, a special welcome back. It's great to see you all for our second day. And I'm Jerry Friedman with the People's Justice Council. And the partners who brought you this event are Mothers and Others for Clean Air, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, North Carolina Interfaith Power and Light, Elders Climate Action, Alabama Interfaith Power and Light, and the United Methodist Women. Yesterday, we heard and we shared a great deal. First, talking about your own experience with air pollution, which is now part of your story. And I hope you're all energized and inspired to take action. Today, we're going to start by going into breakouts, small groups, and following that, we'll take part in the collective action by calling and emailing our members of Congress. Following that, we will be able to give you step-by-step directions to create your own Breathe Again event in your community, and you'll have a preview of the Breathe Again resource materials. Remember, your voice is your power, and collectively, we will make a difference. Let's go into breakouts, and you'll discuss the key takeaway from yesterday for a couple of minutes, and then we will see you back. Welcome back. Momentarily, you are going to see a poll in front of you, and we ask that you complete this poll, and Liz will go over the results. It'll be very quick, fun poll to take. So if we can have the poll, please.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. Happy Friday. It's been a big week, and we're grateful to all of you that were able to be with us yesterday for an incredibly informative session. I know in our breakout group, we were really fired up about the information that we learned and dedicated to this issue moving forward. So next slide. We had the opportunity to learn about that air pollution is as bad for you as smoking cigarettes, what air pollution is, what air pollution does to children's health, what air pollution does to adults' health, who lives near air pollution, what redlining still does to neighborhoods, who creates climate change. I mean, we went through so much content yesterday. And after Dr. Ann gave that incredible presentation that's going to be available for all of you in the packet that we send out and that you can use in your own communities, I had the opportunity to discuss a little bit about our campaign that we refer to as Advocating with Compassion. And these are just a couple of the images that we have that are also going to be able for any of you to use in your communications about this issue and all the issues that you care of, which is for the love of the earth, for the love of each other, for the love of all species, for the love of creation, for the love of our children, everything that you can imagine. If we lead with love, we can change hearts and minds. We know that data is very, very important, and we need to support that data with our personal stories and what we care about and why we are dedicated to protecting the people and places that we love. So I'm excited to hear the results of the poll. I loved seeing information coming in on my end. So I'm going to hand it back over to Liz. She's going to talk about our action today, how this is all going to work. And I'm just grateful for all of you so much. So again, happy Friday and welcome.
Thanks so much, Susanna and Jerry. So I'm gonna share the poll results with you. And we have about 20, and for those of some of you have just joined as we did the poll, but about 24% of you say you are a veteran. You've been doing this. Your legislator may even know you by name. 65%, you've done a bit. You don't do it regularly, but you have engaged. And 5 said, say what? 9% said you get nervous speaking with your legislator. And 11% of you said sometimes you wonder if there is any impact in the advocacy work that you're doing. Right, so thank you for sharing. And I think we have a really diverse collection. I did want to note one thing. Many years ago, I interned on the Hill with my congresswoman. And I remember each day that there would be staff who would come together to look at how many people called on an issue, how many people emailed on an issue, how many postcards there were, and how many visits there were, right? And how many industry lobbyists there were. And one of the important things was one call did not represent, or one email or message or meeting did not represent one person's vote or voice, right? It actually represented, depending on the constituency, hundreds of people, dozens, if not thousands, because they knew at the staff that if one person took the time to make that call or sent that email, there were many others who felt that way but did not make that call. So your voice today, our collective voice matters, especially when we do it within a limited time period when the offices in Congress are bombarded and getting multiple calls from different constituents. So that's what we're doing. So our ask is pretty clear. Climate can't wait. President Biden and Congress must address the public health and environmental impacts caused by poor air quality and the climate crisis. What are we asking them to do? To pass clean air and climate legislation funding, including, and here's a number, $550 billion in investments that will cut dangerous pollution, prioritize clean energy investments, and advance environmental justice. The way we're going to do it is through an online action. There's a petition, letter, call, and Twitter. Now, this petition, I wanted to note, will be sent to President Biden, members of Congress, and his cabinet. And we are hoping to collect 100,000 signatures, and this is across a huge coalition outside of even our organizations, and that will be delivered to the White House before the State of the Union address, which is March 1st. And we are saying to the federal government and the administration that climate legislation must be passed, and he needs to make that a priority. And we want to hear that during the State of the Union address. The letters, and then we'll be having letters that you could modify. There's draft language that is towards President Biden, your 2 senators, and your House of Representatives. You'll modify that letter, or you can send it as is. Then we'll have a time where you can call, and we'll give you. You'll put in your information. A call will come to you directly once you say that you're ready, and you are going to be saying the script. You can add your personal story in that call. And then after that, we want to amplify that message on social media and invite others to the action. And it's really important that you can speak about it and personalize it in your own context. And know that, some of you said, is my advocacy having impact? Some of you may be in locations where your senator or representative has not shared similar commitments around climate. But one of the important things, why our voice is so important, is that they cannot deny that they have some constituents who are deeply concerned about the climate crisis, right? So you are making that call to say, that's not true. And you can even then follow up with a letter to the editor saying that I have called my legislator on this issue and noting why it's important in my district or state. And when more of us do it, as Jeremy noted, there is power in collective action, and we are neutralizing the opposition, or maybe those who are on the fence may be moving more in the direction towards passing this legislation, and the champions around these issues will feel greater energy and support, right? So that is our goal today. Next slide. And a reminder of why we're doing this, right? When we pass ambitious climate legislation and funding, drastic reductions, right, in air pollution and the impact. Next slide. In terms of what the budget, $550 billion in climate funding, what that can do, I shared yesterday about some of these components, whether it's the 40,000 electric school buses, drastically reducing climate pollution. There might be one of these factoids that resonates with you that you may want to include in your script or in your email. Okay, so I'm gonna, next slide, please. So I'm gonna hand it over to my colleague, Marianne from United Methodist Women. And I don't know if I actually introduced myself. I'm Elizabeth Chen-Henley with United Methodist Women. And we've been engaged in this policy ask for quite some time. And if in the chat box, we will be dropping the link. And if you all can click on this link, and we'll be going through this together. And my colleague, Marianne with United Methodist Women, will be talking through you about the details on the next steps. Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, Liz. As Liz said, I'm Marianne Verghese. I'm a consultant with United Methodist Women, and I'm going to be walking you through what it looks like on phone to action. So when you go ahead and click this link, this is the screen you should start with. So you'll see, you'll have a little bit of information. If you scroll down, it's just more information about kind of what we've been talking about, a little description of what we're asking for. And then you'll see a place for your information on the right. So next slide. Thank you. So as you can see, when you put your information in, there'll be a red button at the bottom that says send email. And you want to click on that red button, and you will not send an email immediately. We'll move on to the next slide and see what happens when you click on there. Perfect. So you'll see as we get to this next screen, there'll be two separate emails like Liz talked about. One of them is going to your representative and to senators at the top. And then the email at the bottom is going to President Biden directly. And as Liz said, that is the language from the petition that we are going to be sending along with 100,000 signatures, hopefully to President Biden. So you can edit both of those. And then once you're ready, you can scroll all the way down. And as we'll see on the next slide, perfect. So we'll scroll down, and there at the bottom, you'll have that red button that sends an email. So once you're done editing, if you want to make it any personalizations in there, tell your story personally to your representative or to President Biden. Once you click that red email, that red button that send email, those will be sent automatically. You'll send 4 emails right away. And then we'll move on to our next step on the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. So this is our calling section now, and this part can get a little confusing. So you should already, it says enter your phone number at the top. You should have already done this. You do not have to enter your phone number again. I would take a minute on this screen. We have a sample script in here. There's also some directions at the top, so you can look at those again as a reminder. But as you're going through this, you'll want to scroll down, and then you'll see next, you'll see.
Excuse me, I need some help. I clicked on that link and I've lost the Zoom. How do I get back to it?
Oh, to your Zoom, it might just be open in a different window.
No, I mean, I clicked on that link and my Zoom screen went away.
Yeah, Ruth, what we'll do is we'll go through the directions, and then we're going to actually troubleshoot in a little while after the directions are given. So if you could just bear with us for a few more minutes, we'll attend to that.
So are we not supposed to be doing this as you talk?
You absolutely can. I would wait just a second for our phone calls, because it does. I wouldn't click the button. I would not click this red button that you see right here that should have your phone number in there that says call officials, because you will get a phone call and you might not want to start that process yet. So I would hold on just a second. You can go ahead and send your emails if you'd like, but I would hold on just a minute for the phone calls.
Thank you.
So once you're ready to make your phone calls, once we'll start our action, you'll see this red button at the bottom. It should have your phone number in there, and you'll see your representatives who you'll be calling. So once you click that button, you will get a phone call, like Liz says, to your number, and then it'll show up on the screen. You'll get some instructions. You'll get a phone call that starts with my voice. So it'll be just a quick moment, just reminding what our ask is, and then it'll prompt you to press star, and it'll call each of your representatives. The really important thing here is to stay on the line and not hang up, because you'll want to call 3 people. So if you hang up, it will stop the process. So it can be a little confusing. I know I've done it before where I say, okay, I'm ready, I'm done, I've called my representative, I'm just going to hang up. But you want to stay on until you do 3 phone calls. And if you're not sure if you're done yet, there is a thank you message at the end. So you'll hear my voice at the beginning and the end, in case you're not sure if you have called all your representatives. But in between, you'll press star as well. So once you've done all your calls, once that goes forward, we can go to the next slide. What will happen once you finish your calls? You'll have an opportunity as well to send a tweet to your representatives directly. So you'll have a tweet on your screen, and if you have a Twitter account, you can post that directly to your representatives. And then the final step, as Liz said, we want to make sure we share this action out. So if we go to the next slide, if you scroll down to the bottom down here, and then you'll see a little arrow pop up in just a second if you click next. Perfect, right there where that orange arrow is pointing, you can share this action directly to Twitter and Facebook. So if you want to share that you've done this action, you want other people to complete it, that'll help you send some language right into your Twitter or Facebook account. And then after that's done, you've done all the steps in our action.
Thank you so much. And before you go on your phone calls, just a few things. There was a question over, will you get a live person or will it be a voice message? It might be one or the other. I know some of our colleagues and partners have left live messages and they're in conversation, which is great. I have personally never had anyone ever pick up the phone, so I've consistently left messages. But before we go, we wanted to have Reverend Malcolm really give us a call to action and inspire us of the importance of why we are doing this today. So Rev, thanks for being with us. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. And please forgive me for not being able to be on my video. I'm having some internet issues as well as I'm currently in a memorial service for a friend of mine who recently passed. And to speak of it, the reason he died was because he couldn't breathe. And again, beloved, there are many of us out here. And why I say us is because I want to make sure that I side with those who suffer and make sure that I see those who suffer. And I want to make sure you're doing the same. And many of us are suffering. And we are called to care. And we not only are called to care, but we are called to lead with love. And that's what we need to go and we need to tell our legislators today. We've tried everything else. We've tried putting profit over people and planet. We've seen what it has gotten us and where we are now. Now it's time for us to flip the script and do something different. We've got to lead with love because we are called to care. And we need to make sure that we give that message as we go forward and we call our legislators and we tell them that there are those out here who suffer, who we identify with. And because we are called to care, we want to speak up for those who we identify with. And not only speak up for those who we identify with, but we want to leave you with a message that you too are called to care. And you too need to lead with love. Because you tried everything else and we found out that it hadn't worked. It hadn't gotten us anywhere. We need to put love first at this point. And we who are moral, we who are conscious, we who are those of faith are called to do so. Let's go forth and lead with a message that says we lead with love because we are called to care. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was so powerful. And so, friends, please join in the call if you haven't done so already, as Marianne said. And Marianne, thank you for that detailed information. One of the things that we advise is please mute your Zoom microphone and reduce the volume of your computer. So you may hear it just a bit as we call us back. And so that while you make your phone calls, you're not hearing, or the staffer is not hearing side conversations. When you complete the action, please share your thoughts and reflections in the chat. And Hannah will be debriefing us, but we'll be here just to help answer and triage any issues that may go on. So please make your calls now. And if you have questions, let us know. And we can also take you into a smaller breakout group to help you. Rita, I see that you commented that your call came to your home and not your reps. Yes. So what happens is that once you put your number in and you say call now, a number from I think 202 will be calling you, and then you'll actually hear Marianne's voice saying that we need to act. You listen to that, and when you're ready, I think you click on star, and then it'll take you. So you can go back again and start again. I know what you want to do is put your information in again and click on the phone in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see an envelope shape, and then a phone, and then a bird for Twitter. So click on the phone and it'll directly put you in again into the phone option. And we'll put it in the chat box again, and just click on that link. If it's not coming up for some reason, then you can just type this in. Thank you for doing this. I know, especially in the beginning, it's a little cumbersome, but once you get on the line and you start hitting star, it really does move smoothly. And if there's an error, you can always go back to that link and click on the telephone. Yes, there is a question. Yes, this link will be live, and we will be updating this link with additional actions and revisions for the ask over the next several months. So even after this call, that you can use it next week, you can invite others to call and act as well. Yes, Rita, we hear you.
Okay, this was very interesting. So before I put this in chat, so let me share it with you. Okay, the email went through. And then my first senator, when I talked to Senator Duckworth, they asked for all my information. They asked for my name, my address, my phone number, my email. Then my second senator, Durbin, all they asked for was my zip code. They didn't even ask my name, they didn't ask for nothing. And the same thing with my rep, Danny Davis. They just asked for the zip code. They didn't ask my name or nothing. They just, what's your zip code? I said, okay. So I just thought that was interesting, especially with the senators, how one senator wanted all your information and the second senator didn't. They just wanted the zip code. So I didn't want to write all of that down in chat. So I'll write a little bit of it in chat. I just wanted to share that right quick.
Thanks so much, Ms. Rita. Yeah, different responses. And I'm going to hand it over to Hannah, who will be leading us in the debrief. And it seems like there are a few people calling, so please continue to make your calls. But yes, continue to write your comments in the chat, and Hannah will be leading us in that conversation.
Yeah, that's great and very interesting feedback. So thanks so much for sharing that. Seeing a lot of really great comments in the chat. A couple of folks, it sounds like, got through to talk to people live, talk to some staffers. It looks like others were able to leave messages to all three of their legislators. So that's great. Y'all are doing a great job with this and making such a difference. As Liz said earlier, it is so important that your legislators are hearing from you, and these phone calls and these emails, they do matter. They do make a difference, because even if it's, you know, you feel like it's just your one voice, but it's so powerful for these staffers and these legislators to hear from their constituents and to know that these are issues that matter to you. And so know that you are making a difference by making these calls. And Ariana, could you put the poll? We have another poll, and we'd love to hear from you all what your experience was like. So if you, even if you're still on your call, continue making those calls and having those conversations. But if you finished up, if you can fill out this poll just so that we can get a sense of what you did and how this experience was.
If some reason you weren't able to make your calls today or during this session, you can continue to make these calls beyond the session. You can also use this as an action if you're hosting a local event or if you want to get your friends and family involved. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you all for participating in this. It looks like about half of you were able to actually speak to someone, so that's great. And about 56% of you were able to leave messages. A few of you, it looks like, weren't able to get through, and that's okay. Like we said, this link is live and will continue to be live, so you can always go back and take action later at another time as well. 33% of you said that it was easy and you want to call again. 12% said it wasn't that bad, so that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And about 37% of you said that the person you spoke with was supportive of the ask. So that's great to hear, and I'm glad to hear that you're able to get through and had some good conversations. I know in the chat it looked like a few of you also said that it was a rewarding experience, and so we're grateful that you were able to make these calls. Does anybody want to share or elaborate on anything that they put in the chat? If one or two of you want to come off of mute and share about your experience, we'd love to hear your feedback and what it was like to make the call.
This is Janet Mills. I finished after one call. I went immediately, it was a prompt to tweet. And I tweeted. When I tweeted, I lost the original message, so I went back, and I was able to go, and it went back to the first senator, but I was able to press star immediately, and that gave me the second senator. So if you tweet immediately after the call, you may lose that page. Just want to share that.
Thank you all for sharing your feedback in the chat. It's been so great to read through all of your messages and hear about your experiences and see all of the legislators that you were able to connect with today. I'm going to share my screen again and pass it over to Jen, and we're going to walk you through how you can actually plan an event like this in your own communities. But Jen has also been putting the link in the chat for these actions. And so we encourage you, if you didn't get a chance to take action right now, to do it after this meeting. And like we said, the link will stay live and you'll be able to continue making these calls later as well.
So now that you have yesterday you learned a lot of information in Dr. Ann's presentation, and then we got in state groups and we really talked about what the issues are in our state. And then now we've joined together in a federal collective action. We really want to make sure that you are equipped now to go out and do an event like this in your own community. And so next slide, Hannah. So we really want to talk about some of the steps for planning an action event, for the tools and resources that we've generated and are making available to you, and for some of the sort of tips and tricks of getting started. Liz, would you like to talk to us a little bit about planning an action event?
Sure, happy to do so. And as you will all see, we're in some ways modeling that, right? All of our respective organizations could have done an event separately, right? Then we have lots of different people that we need in our teams. But instead, we chose to come together from different organizations with different skill sets to make this impact and put this training together. So the first thing is determine partners and organizations to work with. And really the emphasis is don't do it alone. You don't have to. There are probably organizations in your own community, in your state, who are interested. And if you don't know, reach out to one of the planning organizations and we can help link you. And I think about those of us who are United Methodist Women members, think about the other organizations who are here. And reach out to them to work with them. And that's why we're going to be going into breakout groups in a little while as well. And think about the particular assets that you have in your organizations. Some of you may be really skilled in social media. Others may have a physical space, a meeting space, a church, a gathering hall. Others of you may have budget. Others of you may know speakers, etc. So others may have people power. So don't do this work alone, because that collective action really leads to powerful work and results. And then you determine, well, where do you want to do it? Do you want to do it via Zoom or in person? Set a date, and don't be overly ambitious where you set a date like 1 week away, right? When you're planning, give yourself some lead time, maybe a month, maybe a little more than that. But you want to plan it well. And because what you don't want is you plan an event and the promo wasn't there, right? You want to draft an agenda. And we'll be talking more about the agenda in a bit, but the agenda doesn't have to be too long. And what you will have experienced even yesterday and today, right? There are set things that we want to focus on. Next, a budget. You may need a budget for advertisement, for food, or you may not need a budget. So think about the resources, and there might be in-kind services or grants that might be available. Again, once you've set all of these things out, then you can determine the location or a Zoom, and libraries are a great place or places of worship. After that, create promotional material. There's a ton of templates that our partners here have created, and Jen will speak about that in a bit. Then once you've done the promo, send out the invitations, invite your network, friends, family, and get the word out. Last, near the end, identify what is the ask. Now, we did a national ask here. That's partially because we were a national group, right? Groups from all over, from different states. But your ask might be very local, or it might be regional or state specific. So you want to determine what is your goal of that ask, and put that language together. And then you want to set up some sort of mechanism to access, to reach out to the legislator. It can be phone call, meeting, emails, and we'll talk about that more in detail. So I'll hand that back to Jen now.
Thanks so much, Liz. I think that that's really helpful to see all those details laid out. And Hannah, do you want to talk to us a little bit about setting a draft agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Liz just said, setting the draft agenda is one of the first steps to do when you're planning this event. And this is just an outline of what it could look like. And we will be sending this out in the follow-up email in the resource packet. So you'll have this that you can use as a guiding source when you're creating your own agenda. But you probably want to plan for about 2 hours for this kind of event. Between yesterday and today, our total event has been 3 hours. So that gives you kind of a sense of how long an event like this might take. But some things that we suggest including in the agenda is a short welcome. Of course, you want to welcome everybody to your event, and then start with some kind of icebreaker, get to know you. We did this both yesterday and today with short breakout sessions, but give folks a chance to talk about who they are and why they are attending this event. And then you'll want to include the presentation on air pollution, climate change, and health impacts. And that's the presentation that Dr. Ann shared with us yesterday. And you will be receiving that in the resource packet as well. So you'll have access to that presentation to share. Then you want to create time for discussion about local issues and help folks make it personal. Again, this is giving folks time to think about how air pollution, climate change, how this is affecting their lives, and narrating your story, thinking about how this is directly impacting you and how to incorporate that personal story into the ask. Then you'll want to have time to go over the legislative ask like we did both yesterday and today. So it's making sure everybody understands what it is that we are going to be asking of our representatives. Then you'll want to have time to practice making the ask. And so that could be in a large group, or you could have people go into breakout sessions, but creating that time to practice with one another. And then like we just did, including time to make calls to legislators together. So this could look like a couple of different things. It could look like what we did today, where we're all on the phone together making calls to our legislators. You could also plan a virtual lobby meeting or legislative visit. If you do that, you might want to include a little bit more time. That might be more of like a 20 or 30-minute meeting than just a short, 5 to 10-minute call. But know that that is an option and a way to connect with your legislators as well. And then you'll want to leave time at the end for debrief, questions, and concerns. So a time, to share feedback about how the experience was and see what questions people still have. And then you'll want to close out with some suggested next steps and just a word of thanks and appreciation for everybody who attended your event. Pass it back to you, Jen.
Thanks so much, Hannah. That's so helpful just to have an idea. I think for a lot of us who have never planned an event before, it's really important to have sort of a starting point and to know that we don't have to start from scratch. And one of the enjoyed with this process of working with all of our collaborators on this project is we have really developed a really great resource kit for y'all to use in your own communities and to adapt and modify for whatever purposes you need in your own community. So there's a couple of links that we're going to share, and the first one is a bigger Google folder that has a number of documents in it that is what we call the Breathe Again Planning Resources folder. And within that folder, there will be a specific, Ariana, it looks like that link didn't come through in the chat. There's the Drive folder got bumped up against it. If you can share that one more time. Within this folder, we have a number of resources, but the most significant resource to you will actually be a second link that Ariana is going to drop in, which is the Breathe Again the Breathe Again resource document. And the Breathe Again resource document has a number of things contained within that document that link from that document. Hannah, can you go to the next slide? So within the quick links of this document, we've included a couple of different sections, and these will link to a lot of different resources and tools for you to use. So there's the slide deck that Dr. Ann went through yesterday, excuse me, and that slide deck is available for you to use. It's also available for you to customize. So you can make a copy of that deck and customize it however you need for your own specific purposes. It also includes the Breathe Again logos and social media posts and graphics that you are welcome to use. Those are also, the social media posts and graphics are actually templates. So you have the ability to modify those templates. When you look at them, you might see that they say February 17th and 18th, and they have a link to maybe Elders Climate Action's website for an event link, but you can actually modify all of those graphics and put in your own links, put in your own dates and whatnot. There's a number of videos. We shared, I believe, one of the videos with you yesterday, short videos. These are about 1 minute to 90 seconds long. And they're great little videos for sharing on social media or for little kind of teasers at your events that you might be hosting. And they're very well made and well produced. So they look great. We have a number of fact sheets. These are fact sheets that some of our various organizations have been involved in creating, including things like from Elders Climate Action. There's an Elders, there's a impacts and Elders in elder health info sheet that's talking about climate, air pollution, and elder health. And there's a number of other of info sheets. Moms Clean Air Force. Mothers and Others for Clean Air produced an info sheet all about indoor air pollution, and you can find that in our slide deck. Sorry, my cat thinks he needs to co-host today. We also have a number of other resources Dr. Ann will talk about in just a minute that are more specific to some health and air pollution related research. And so we really wanted to make it easy for you to be able to take any of the information that we've provided, modify it from your own for your own needs, and then reproduce it for a presentation in your own community. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel and you don't have to feel like you have to start from scratch. We have all of these really incredible tools that are ready for you to utilize for your own events. Next slide. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Ann, and she'll talk specifically about some of the research that is within our resource document that we are sharing with you.
Hi. So we have some research and resources there. One of them is the Duke University did a study with Columbia and some other people, and as part of that, they have a health and economic benefit calculator where you can look at different scenarios for your state. So they'll have a map of the whole country, and you scroll over your state and you can put in different choices. And it's a little bit complicated. So we made an instruction sheet that tells you how to use their calculator. We also have links to the research hub from Mothers and Others for Clean Air. We have research on our website and a latest news that is studies that have come out in the last few weeks. We also have reports from NRDC about air pollution for individual states and links to those reports that you can use. And also, I just want to point out, if you do an action with your group, that I'm available to be there virtually or in person, depending on the timing and location of what you're doing. And you'll get all of our emails, so you can ask me questions if you have any questions about any of this.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. And so one of the big things that you might be considering in organizing your event is how to set up a legislative action. And the action that we did today, we used a really incredible tool that United Methodist Women had access to, which is called Phone to Action. And this is actually a paid service. And many of us, and including organizations like Elders Climate Action, we don't have services like this because these are actually paid subscription services. But that doesn't limit our ability to do these types of actions. So I'll talk in just a second about some of the other ways that you can host a phone action like we did today, but also just really want to reiterate that this phone to action that we did use today will be able to be used by you in events that you might have coming up. for at least, we plan to keep this action open at least the next month or so. The action language might get modified a little bit depending on what's happening at federal legislative level. Right now, it really speaks to the language of $550 billion allocated. If we see that allocation happen, or if that number changes, you might see some subtle changes in the text of that letter. But the email, call script, and tweet action or social media action that you just took will be available for you to use or to share, and to sort of pass on in your own community. Let's see, can we go back to that slide deck, Hannah? You can also plan for your own action. So like Hannah mentioned earlier, you might want to have a state specific or a regional specific action. And in which case, you can always look at sort of our call script and our email scripts that we are sharing with you and modify that message. You don't have to, again, you don't have to start from scratch, or you find an issue that's really important in your own community and draft some sort of templated message. But if you're going to be hosting an event, we do encourage you to have a sample message or a template message ready and available for folks to use, rather than folks having to come up with something totally off the cuff. Also included in our resources, we have things like talking points. So if you do want to draft your own customized message, we have some key talking points that you might want to include in that. And we will be sending out with our follow-up email things like a sample letter to the editor, or LTE, and some language like that. So those are also the types of things that you might want to create for your audience if you are hosting an event. If you do not have phone to action or some sort of action advocacy tool like phone to action, you can easily find out who represents you by going to Ballotpedia, and you can find out who your or if you're going to do a presentation in another state, say maybe the state that's next door to you, and you don't know who the representatives are for that state, but you want to provide that information to the participants, you can go to Ballotpedia, look up who represents that state, and then go to the Senate and House directories and get that contact information for those representatives. So you can find email, generally on the state directories, you can find their telephone information as well as their email information to be able to contact them. You can also find things like their websites and whatnot as well, and potentially social media handles so that you can tag them on social media as well. So that those are some links of how you would find and locate your legislators. And you can contact those legislative offices directly if you would like to schedule a meeting, whether that's an in-person or a virtual meeting. We often hear, and I'll just reiterate again, that that members of Congress say they don't hear enough from their constituents that we care about climate change. And so I just want to reiterate that you can never call too many times. You know, you could call them daily and it's still not too many times to be calling them, because we need to really make all of our elected officials really understand that climate change is a very important issue and a huge priority for their constituents. So don't be afraid to call them every day, write them every day, tweet them every day, ask people in your community to call, tweet, and email them every day, because they really truly do need to hear about the importance of climate change from all of us. Next slide, Hannah. And I'm going to turn it over to Ariana.
All right, so we're going to do another breakout session. In this breakout session, we're going to, based on everything we've learned today and yesterday, we're going to discuss how you plan your own training in your own community and use the resources we've talked about. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to break up regionally again. So, we have the Appalachia kind of region that's going to include the states listed on the screen, the Midwest, again, feel free to look at the screen, Northeast, Southeast, and then we have the West and Southwest kind of mixed together. And then because of how many people signed up from Georgia, Texas, and California, we do have those state specific rooms.
So the way you're going to do this is you're actually going to go to the little breakout tab in the bottom of your screen. And if you hit the breakout room tab, you should be able to see when we open it up, there is the sections, you know, the West, Southwest, Midwest, Northeast, and all you have to do is just join those. And if you have any trouble, I can be here to help. But in these rooms, we're going to just talk with each other about what we can do and how we can plan our own type of event. So feel free to start looking at the rooms.
Wow, what a 2 days we have had. I hope you're all inspired and ready to move forward. You've heard a lot, you've chatted a lot, and we are ready now to take action and to spread this word, moving forward to creating our own events. Right now, I'm wondering if there are any questions that you all have. Please put them in the chat and we can address some questions and answers. I unfortunately can't see you all, so if you raise your hand. But if you have a question, please put it in the chat and we will try to address it. I would like to address one question that came up in my breakout room, which was that it was there was a lot going on to pay attention to during the call to action. And so it might be easier when you do this process to go through the instructions. If you're using phone to action, go through the instructions first, tell people wait until we go through the instructions, answer any questions, and then send people off to make the call. It might make it a little bit easier. Any question? I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. I can't believe that nobody has any questions. It's been great meeting you all and spending the past couple of days together. And moving forward, I am so excited. As you can see that one of the things that Liz focused on, and Jen also, was that creating an event like this, partnering with some other groups, is really critical. And we would not have been able to do this event today without the partnership that was created. It was not one organization, it was shared amongst 6 organizations. So I think I see a chat that this is what democracy looks like, and it is. I'd like to hand it over now to Reverend Susanna. I'm not seeing any questions. I'm sure you'll have questions as you leave here. If you do, next week when you will be getting resources, you also have our information. You'll have all of our contact information and our websites. So feel free to reach out to us, because we're happy to help you and support you in any way to create this event in your own community. It was an amazing couple of days, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Reverend Susanna.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you so much. I am just like feeling the love right now. It is so amazing to be with all of you. I have learned so much about air pollution. Thank you, Dr. Ann, for using your gifts to bless the world, really. And for all of you, this platform, Mary Ann coming on, I mean, just all of it has just been amazing. So I'd like to close us out. And yesterday, both Elizabeth Lee and I grabbed for this book when we were asked what book we wanted to share that we think everyone should read. And if you're not familiar with this book, All We Can Save: Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis. It is provocative and illuminating essays from women at the forefront of the climate movement who are harnessing truth, courage, and solutions to lead humanity forward. And I'm going to read just a passage from the closing gratitude section. But you are these women. You are the women of these books. Your stories are what make all of the change possible. So as Rachel Carson put it in Silent Spring, we stand now where 2 roads diverge, but unlike the roads in Robert Frost's familiar poem, they are not equally fair. The road we have long been traveling is deceptively easy, a smooth superhighway on which we progress with great speed, but at its end lies disaster. The other fork in the road, the one less traveled by, offers our last and only chance to reach a destination that assures the preservation of the earth. That choice, after all, is ours to make. And we are making that choice together. So where do we go from here? First, we take a breath. It's a lot. And in some ways, we humans are not designed for a crisis this massive and all-encompassing. In other ways, we were made for this moment. What we do now is dream. From a foundation of science and community, we must imagine the future we want to live in and the future we want to pass on, and every day do something to reel the dream closer to reality. I am so grateful for all of you and the ability to dream in community. Thank you so much for all that you are and do. May you go out with peace and hope and truth and justice, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a happy and healthy weekend. You will receive a packet from us full of more resources. I can't wait to see you all again. Be well, stay strong, and God bless.